Today, we are dialing back the clock to the year 1987 to Hammond, Louisiana. It is here in Hammond that 26-year-old Selonia Reed is living with her husband, 27-year-old Reggie Reed. Selonia worked at a hospital before becoming a teller at a local Citizens National Bank. So she's 26, working at a bank, married. And her husband, Reggie, was a former Marine turned car salesman, now at 27. 6-year-old Reggie Jr. was by her side. The two were rarely ever apart. So we are now at August 22nd, 1987. Selonia picked up her sister, Gwen, from work between 5:30 and 6 p.m. and gave her a ride home. Selonia asked Gwen if she wanted to come to the mall with her and Reggie Jr. a little bit later that night. Gwen tells her sister, I have other things to do this evening. Selonia gets home, picks Reggie up for the mall as promised. And after that, they went home. Selonia came in at one point and gave Reggie Jr. a kiss goodbye. She said she was going out for a bit with a friend. But the following morning, when Reggie woke up, he notices that his mother still isn't home. Reggie Sr. calls Selonia's sister, Gwen, the one she had picked up the previous day and dropped off, to ask if she's seen or heard from her. When she says, no, I haven't, Reggie Sr. actually calls the police. Not even an hour later, the Reed family would get one of the worst calls of their life. Someone calls the police station saying a blue Chevy Sprint has been sitting in the parking lot of a gas station and they think there is a body. This gas station is only a mile and a half from the Reeds' home. When police arrive, they find it is Selonia's car, and she is in the front seat, stripped naked. Earrings have been torn from her ears, bludgeoned in the head and face, and stabbed multiple times. Investigators also notice she has been sexually assaulted. The sexual assault involved an umbrella. Selonia's body is stuck between the two front seats, covered in this lotion-like substance. It looks to police like the lotion might have been put there to spell out some sort of message, but with the southern and August heat and her body being sitting in a car, this message has melted. They don't know what it says, but there are no eyewitnesses. There is, however, a cigarette butt inside the car. They realize that she isn't known to smoke. Reggie Sr. tells the police that he had stayed home and watched his son while Selonia went out the night before. She told him she was going out to a bar with a friend from work named Melinda Mike. He wasn't totally sure Selonia was telling the truth. It is a possibility she had a boyfriend. They are going through a rocky time in their marriage. He was home the entire time playing video games with Reggie Jr. This is something that Reggie Jr. confirms to police when they question him that day as well. And the two even slept together in the same sofa bed that night. And when asked if anyone left, he says no. They notice, however, that there is something strange. But they notice the dad has these scratches on his neck. Reggie Sr. tells police he got them from their family dog. Dad even gives them permission to go back and search the home. The house is immaculate. It has been freshly vacuumed. It smells like bleach. And the only thing they can find out of place is a small gold clasp from a necklace that is on the family's floor. Now, when they speak to a security guard who was working at the mall that night, he says, yeah, I actually did see that mother and her son walking around. He didn't see the dad. Selonia's sister, Gwen, also says that there was no mention of Reggie Sr. going to the mall with them. They call Selonia's coworker, Melinda Mike, and Melinda's like, no, I didn't see her last night. We never had any plans to go to a bar. They do learn, however, that Reggie Sr. had apparently called Melinda the day Selonia's body was found, threatened her saying, you know you were with Selonia last night. You better say she was with you. Police discover another clue. A neighbor of the Reeds, he had a crucifix and a screwdriver in his mailbox that day. So when police take it in for evidence, the screwdriver and crucifix has no blood on them. They still wonder if this could have been the weapon that caused those stab marks on Selonia's body. They also learned something about the cigarette that they found in her car. Reggie Sr.'s very good friends smoked the same brand as the one found. Jimmy Ray Barnes. Apparently, 2 days after the murder, a witness came forward to say they actually saw two men around the gas station the night of Selonia's death. So the witness wrote down the license plate number.
No way.
And then Selonia turns up dead in the gas station parking lot.
What are the chances? That's so crazy.
Who do you think this license plate belongs to? Reggie. This witness who took down the license plate witness says those are the two guys. Also remember, it is 1987. Reggie Sr. ultimately has an alibi. His 6-year-old son. They don't arrest Reggie Sr. or Jimmy, and things start to slow down. 24 years later, Lieutenant Barry Ward, he and his team go in and collect all of the evidence and files that Hammond Police Department gathered back in the late 80s. There was one detail that stuck out like a sore thumb, and that is the many life insurance policies Reggie Sr. had gotten before his wife died. 3 of those policies were taken out less than 3 weeks before Selonia's murder, which totaled $421,000. Reggie Jr. never saw a dime. Reggie Jr. is shocked by this. So he starts doing his own investigation. His perception of what he believed starts to unravel, especially when police actually do get a read off that cigarette. It is not Jimmy Ray Barnes. It actually appears to be a match to Billy Ray Barnes, his brother. They are identical twins. Jimmy was polygraphed and he passed. But now Lieutenant Ward has a theory. Maybe Billy had taken the polygraph for Jimmy. When they find Jimmy, he's living in Atlanta, Georgia now. He says, I fled Louisiana years ago because I was terrified of Reggie Sr. He claims he had been shot at 3 separate times by someone he couldn't see, and he thinks it was Reggie Sr. And he agreed to tell the police more. He said, yeah, Reggie Sr. did ask me back in the day if he could, quote, knock off his wife. We did eventually agree on a price, $50,000, but there was just one problem. Jimmy was refusing to testify to any of this in court. So they come back, they're like, hey, we're going to offer you immunity. And Jimmy's like, I don't think you guys are. He rejects this get out of jail free card. Though as officers are leaving, he does stop them and say, I want you boys to know that I am the key to all of this. And if you think you can indict me for murder, then just do it. A couple weeks later, they had 2nd-degree murder and conspiracy indictments for Jimmy and Reggie Sr. On June 21st, 2019, more than 30 years after Selonia's death, Reggie Reed was finally in handcuffs. Reggie Jr. puts up $250,000 for his father's bail. Jimmy Ray Barnes is also arrested and charged. As he's awaiting trial, police go to him with a proposition. They will lessen the charges from 2nd-degree murder to accessory after the fact. Just tell us everything that happened that night. And you have to be willing to testify against your old friend, Reggie Sr. And here's what Jimmy says. On August 22nd, he agreed to meet Reggie Sr. at a parking area outside the gas station. Meanwhile, Reggie shows up in Selonia's blue car with Selonia in the passenger seat. She has blood and tears on her face, according to Jimmy, but she wasn't moving. They left Selonia right there in the parking lot. He said that later that night, Reggie Sr. was the one who returned to the crime scene, stripped Selonia naked and covered her in that lotion, hoping it would look more like a sex crime. So you can only imagine how Reggie Jr. feels when he hears this theory. He's having a really hard time about whether to support his dad. There is no murder weapon that they found. There's no fingerprints. They searched the house. The only thing they did have was an answer to that white lotion that was found on Selonia's body. Police were able to find that exact brand and type of lotion back at the Reeds' home. So when the trial begins, this is actually one of the critical pieces of evidence. So the defense is like Jimmy did it alone. But on November 18th, 2022, 40 years after the crime, Reggie Sr. is found guilty of 2nd-degree murder.
40 years. So he's 77 years old. 67 years old. My bad.
He's sentenced to life in prison for his wife's murder, and Jimmy Ray Barnes was given a 5-year sentence for his cooperation. January of 2024, however, he was back in Hammond attending his twin brother, Billy Ray's funeral. And while he's there, Jimmy Ray dies in a car accident while attending his twin brother's funeral. As for Reggie Jr., he says he still doesn't know where he stands. Every day he goes back and forth. He doesn't have any answers.
Oh, that would be so hard.
In fact, he wrote a memoir about this entire experience called The Day My Mother Never Came Home. So while Reggie Sr. is filing appeals, Reggie Jr. is focusing on his own family, a wife, a son, and a little girl he had who he named Selonia after his mother.
That's nice.
Again, I've said it 100 times, how many victims there are when one person is murdered. It's the family members of these cases.
I think it's a lot easier for us as an outside perspective to look at this case and be like, oh, Reggie did it. It's just a lot more difficult when someone involved, when there's emotions involved, when there's relationships involved. That's when things become so much more difficult. So it's just hard. It's a really difficult one.
I think the reason this case is hard to fathom is because there really still isn't a clear story of what happened. Like, you
Correct.
have the prosecution's theory, but there's no physical evidence. You don't even know what the murder weapon is. You don't know if the murder happened in the car or if it happened back. Like, there's just so much.
I don't like that.
There's so much
Because
that we don't know
Do
for
I
sure.
think Reggie did it? Yes. Could I say 100% certain he did?
They tell juries all the time, listen, you don't need to actually know anything. You just need to know if he did it.
Yeah.
I think juries go, all the circumstantial evidence points to him, and that is enough for us. Without a reasonable doubt, he did it, even though we don't have the physical evidence or the clear story.